Welcome. Thanks for coming to practice with me. Um, those who are joining live, we've had a wonderful little moment of hilarity here. Maybe not hilarity, lightness beginning. So, a couple things. First of all, I want to say that next Monday is July 5th, official day for recognizing the 4th of July. And I don't believe the Clinic Wellness Center had scheduled a class for that day, but I'm going to be here anyway. Same time, same place, and the recording will be available. So just know that that's available if you've got other plans, other things you want to be doing, need to be doing. The recording is available for next Monday and the live session. Getting on to today's practice, if you read the invitation, I said we would explore how novel movements can benefit us. And I really picked up that word, that phrase novel, in terms of how we can move way back when I was taking my yoga teacher training. And I have to say I was so lucky. A couple of my fellow trainees, class participants, two of them were physical therapists and one was a medical doctor. And I was so fortunate that we pretty much all stayed together through both the $200 and $500 teacher training. The way they used this word novel was to describe movements that are other than our usual habitual patterns. And then I was listening to public radio a week ago today, and they were interviewing two physical therapists, and they used this word novel in the same context. And what they're really talking about is engaging muscles and loading joints in ways that are different from our established patterns. And so the benefits of that are to increase balance, surprisingly, to increase bone density, build muscle mass, and promote functional mobility. So this idea of loading joints can be kind of a slippery slope. That's not to say that we were going to take joints to end range of motion, but we're going to load them with our weight in particular ways, unusual ways. So that being said, let's get started. Some novel movements. Coming up on your feet if you're not already there. And I'm going to begin with that pattern that's called in the yoga literature Dasha Shalana. And if you remember, that's beginning with just taking one foot back a little bit and coming up onto your toes, and then it's circling your foot so that pads of the toes touch the floor, and then as foot turns over, tops of the toes, toenails touch the floor. So going in both directions. Yeah, for sure, a pretty unusual movement. Yeah, not something you do standing in line at the grocery store. Or, I don't know, maybe you would. Let's go to the other side. So same thing on this side. And maybe there's a difference side to side for you. That difference could reside in a whole host of places. Maybe it's in the ankle, maybe it's in the knee or hip. Now for me, there's quite a difference in this because I have an old injury at the base of my big toe, kind of that bunion area. And many years ago, horse stepped on my foot right there, and I couldn't get him to move off either, not for a good minute or so. All right. Next movement is, let me check here. I got lost in the stories. Oh yeah, shoulder shrug. Simply drawing shoulders up, rolling them back, and rolling them forward. Not such an unusual movement, but maybe trying to roll shoulders separately. How about this? One rolls forward, one rolls back. Kind of a mental exercise as well. And let's just end with rolling shoulders back. And then it's a head tip. And so there are many different ways to do this. And one of them includes a kind of a roll to your head when you tip. But I prefer to just take my right ear towards the left shoulder, bring it up and go to the other side. Just tipping side to side. Stimulating muscles in your neck. And moving those cervical joints. How about this then? Just nodding forward, looking down at the floor, and coming back, looking up at the ceiling. So these are pretty big movements. And they for sure access cervical vertebra that are a little bit lower down in the spine, but they really don't get at C1, C2, the very top of your spinal column. The way to do that is to make a figure eight, sideways figure eight, infinity symbol. Just drawing an infinity symbol with your nose in the air. And if you started fairly large with that, then just gradually, incrementally decreasing it, making it smaller and smaller. So that if you were sitting in a meeting, sitting across the room from somebody, you'd know you were doing it, but they wouldn't be able to see it. Going in both directions, little and tiny infinity symbols, getting those top two vertebrae and the muscles that surround them. It's pretty small muscles activated this morning. All right. Letting that trail off and then just interlacing your hands, your fingers, and bringing arms up to shoulder height. You're going to make that same infinity symbol on the ceiling by rotating your wrists. So maybe I will come just a little bit closer and kneel down here so you can see what I'm doing with my wrists. Yeah. So if you started this pattern and it's kind of naturally flowed in one direction, reverse the pattern. Yeah, there we go. It's a little bit of a mental challenge as well, isn't it? All right. So you all are still standing. I'm going to come back up on my feet. And then taking a wider stride with toes slightly pointed out, sweeping arms up, and then bending at your knees, hips, and ankles as you sweep your arms down. Just up and down like that a few times. A little bit more dynamic movement of ankles, knees, and hips. Beginning to bring shoulders into the picture as well. Next time your arms come down, let's just bring feet together. And another whole body movement. I'm going to turn sideways, angled here so you can see me a little bit better. Taking arms out to the side in kind of a T shape. And then I'm going to let my left arm drop in front of me, right arm drop behind me, and turn and look in the direction that the arm in front is swinging. So here we got shoulders going. We got neck going. A little bit of a twist to turn as well. And then just letting that movement trail off. So I don't know if there were hula hoops in the picture way back when Dasha Shalana came into favor, but bending your knees slightly and just rotating your hips, going in both directions. Remember the hula hoop? Yeah, pretty much this motion right here. So perhaps you've already noticed how many different ways we've already begun to move joints, load joints, engage muscles. And after you've gone both directions, then final movement called Sarpa, supposed to emulate a serpent, begins with bending your knees and bringing hands to your knees. And then I'm going to take my hands off my knees just to show you how my pelvis moves, how it can move first. So I'm going to put my hand on the front of my belly and the other hand on my back. I'm going to tip my belly towards the floor and let that, on an inhale, bring me up, lift me up, curve me up. And then I'm going to take my lower back and take it back away from me, behind me, and let that bring me back down. So it's tipping hips first to initiate this movement. It's on an inhale, curving up, and on an exhale, rounding down. But the key is to try to begin this movement in your hips. All right, last one. This time when we come up, we'll just stay up and we'll head for the floor by way of a sun salutation. On an inhale, sweeping up. Exhale, folding. Fingertips to the floor, knees can be slightly bent. Remember that movement you just did in Sarpa, same movement right here. Tipping your hips forward brings a little bit of a lift to torso, neck, and head. Rounding your lower back brings you all the way upside down. Let's just do that one more time. Tipping hips forward, bit of a lift. Lower back rounding up first, brings you all the way upside down. And then coming down to hands and knees. And hands under shoulders, knees under hips. And then taking your knees back just a little bit so that hands are a bit forward of your shoulders. Curling toes under, bringing hips up and back. So not a very unusual movement, especially if you've been doing yoga for a number of years or months or even weeks. The benefit is just getting upside down, so no style points yet. Let's come back to hands and knees. And then extending your toes out behind you. Maybe taking those knees, walking them back just a little bit farther. Now with your tops of your feet pressing into the ground, bring your hips forward so that knees, hips, shoulders, ears align. Feeling how that top of the feet into the floor engages your abdominal muscles. Using those abdominal muscles in kind of a unique way to help support you as you lower yourself down. Maybe you go a third of the way down, maybe half of the way down. Maybe if you're feeling strong, all the way down. And then using those feet pushing down, top of the feet pushing down to help bring you back up. All right, let's just step forward, forward fold. A bit of a lift. Inhale, all the way upside down. Exhale, and sweep it up. And arms to the side. All right. Let's head right away for some standing poses so we can explore this idea that we began of loading joints, especially ankles, knees, and hips. So pouring your weight into your right leg and stepping back with the left foot, but not all that far, maybe 3 feet or so. And then lifting the heel of your back foot in order to bend the front knee, drawing the heel of your back foot, left foot to the floor to bring front knee straight. So there's this lifting of the back heel, initiates movement forward, drawing down of the back heel brings you back up. So maybe you've noticed I haven't said much, if anything, about breathing yet. Let's bring a little bit more intention to that synchronous of breathing and movement. On an exhale, it's lifting your back heel, coming forward. And inhale, drawing back up. One more of those, exhale, coming forward. Inhale, coming back up. And then we'll, having warmed things up a bit, we'll hold this forward position. Back heel is still off the floor just a bit. And then lifting the front of your pelvis up towards the ceiling. Bringing hands to heart. Now out of that lifted pelvis, descending the back heel down to the floor, like you were telescoping it up. Remember the old school cell phones, you had to telescope that antenna out to use the phone. On an inhale, reaching arms forward. Exhale, arms up overhead. Maybe even gazing up slightly. First transition is bringing hands to heart. Now we're going to begin to load, especially the hip joint, but knee and ankle as well on that front leg, front foot. So rather than pushing off with your back foot, just bringing your torso into alignment with the angle of that back leg. So you can slowly bring weight over the front foot, loading those joints in a way that allows you to suspend the back foot just a bit, maybe even lift it just a bit before it comes up to meet the front foot. All right, so we established a bit of grounding in what was that front foot, right foot. Let's use that to go right into tree pose. So lifting the left foot, coming up on your toes, and we'll kind of swing that left leg, knee in and out, kind of like opening and closing a gate. So probably, maybe you recognize this movement. Yeah, kind of started with something similar, didn't we? Next time that knee is turned out, then just bringing your foot in so that your heel lands above the ankle of the supporting leg. Bringing hands to heart. Yeah. I don't know how your balance is this morning, but tree pose always a challenge for balance. Yeah, if you're pretty steady here with toes touching the floor, then a little bit more challenge would be lifting those toes off the floor. Benefits to balance: if you're not rock steady, a little bit shaky, just know that cause for celebration. You're getting the most benefit out of trying to work your balance. All right, let's go to the other side. So stepping back with the right foot, that same sequence we did just a moment ago. And then it's lifting the back heel to bring the front knee forward, drawing the back heel down to bring you up. Pause this time when you're up. Remember, a few sessions ago, we focused on a particular area of the body to see how things engage in unison If you want to, when we come forward and up, maybe just putting your hands on your lower belly. Perhaps you remember this, that when you lift the heel of the back foot, perhaps you feel lower belly engage. When you descend the heel of the back foot, perhaps you feel engagement of a different kind. So it's almost as if there's a flow going here, heel, lower belly, front leg bending. But in actuality, it's synchronous. Yeah. And you don't have to think about it, do you? It just happens naturally. All right. Next time that front knee is bent, back heel's off the floor, lifting the front of your pelvis up towards the ceiling. And then out of that lifted pelvis, like the old school cell phone, telescoping your back heel out of your pelvis. Inhale, arms forward. Exhale, arms up. First transition is hands to heart. And then again, we're going to load joints on that other leg, front leg, left leg, but inclining your torso forward so it lines up with the angle of the back leg, pouring your weight into that front hip until the back foot becomes so light it suspends and maybe even lifts for a moment before it comes forward. Okay. Let's just even things out by way of a sun salutation. Inhale, sweeping up. Exhale, fold it. Bit of a lift, inhale. All the way upside down. Exhale. Over the hands and knees. And then pretty much hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Let's take those knees back just an inch or two. So our hands are a little bit more forward. Headed for downward dog, but not right away. Yeah, intermediate step here. Just lifting your knees off the floor, maybe 6 inches, 5 inches. And then taking hips straight back. Knees stay pretty bent, just off the floor and coming forward. And noticing internally how this helps to engage abdominal muscles. Next time your seat comes back, keeping those abdominal muscles, there you go, engage as you begin to straighten your legs. The legs don't have to straighten all the way. In fact, for novel engagement, it's much better to keep them knees just a little bit bent, heels off the floor, so that hamstring muscles can do their job a little better. Exhale, coming on down the hands and knees. Let's step forward, forward, fold. Full deep inhale. Exhale right here. Sweeping up, inhale. Arms to the side, exhale. All right. So we haven't done something that I don't believe in the last 10 years I've done a single practice where I haven't used this particular engagement. Yeah. So it's taken feet apart in a wider stride, toes more or less pointed out. And then with hands on hips, it's taking your seat behind you first, so that allows knees and ankles to bend. Coming on down, seat coming back behind you quite a bit. So there's this idea again of moving from your area of your hips. And most physical therapists exhaling down. Most athletic trainers, kinesiologists agree that movements that begin closer to the center of your body, those movements are more optimal more efficient, yeah, even more elegant. Yeah, ever seen a dancer that just seems to move effortlessly? If you notice carefully, they're moving more from center of their body. Next time you've gotten it in that bent leg position, pause there. So engaging now pelvic floor muscles, lower abdominal muscles, and yeah, harmoniously hamstring muscles. Let's lift our heels, both heels lifting, and then we'll set those heels down, slow, steady, strong. To the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Contact. Heels contacting, but kind of a light contact. Let's just go up and down one time in silence so that you can focus on keeping those heels light as you move up and move down. Whenever you're ready, it would be coming up on an inhale. All right. So a little bit of movement here. How about shifting your weight over that right foot, straightening the left leg, and then going to the other side. So how far you bend over, how much you shift is entirely up to you. Knowing that even a small bending and shifting will load joints in a novel way, engage muscles in a novel way. Next time you're over the center, pausing there, coming on up, stepping your feet together and stepping to the side because we're gonna squat down and shift over a couple of times here. So that would be me moving to my left. Let's pour weight into this supporting leg, right leg, and then just lifting the left foot out to the side and back in a few times. So a lot of challenges going on here. Balance among them. Remember how in that squatting pose a moment ago, we started by taking hips behind us. Next time that leg is out to the side, just a bit. Same kind of squatting going on here. Taking your hips behind you just a bit to bring that into the squat and bring that left foot towards the floor and then shifting over. Pouring weight into this other leg, lifting and coming in and coming back up. Let's do that. Repeat that one more time. So it's the left leg coming out to the side. Then by taking your seat back, squatting down to bring that outstretched foot to the floor, shifting over, loading the other leg and coming on up. Yeah. So let's head back the other way, but we'll start with just a few of those side leg lifts. So we're now pouring your weight into your left leg and taking that right leg out to the side and back in a few times. Next time that leg is out to the side, just bending, squatting to bring that foot to the floor. And then shifting your weight over. And lifting the left foot, free foot, suspending it a bit before it comes in. One more. Shifting, lowering, sliding, lifting. All right. Let's revisit that wide-legged squatting down posture just one more time. And that would be on an exhale, taking your seat behind you to come down. And inhale, coming back up. Just one more, just to build some muscular neural efficiency, sometimes called muscle memory, getting a feel for this movement. The next time you're up, then turning your right toes in and your left toes out. So kind of making a half squatting movement here, bending the front knee and coming back up. So it's bending on the exhale, just like we did a moment ago. Next time that front knee is bent, holding there. And perhaps you can see my hips. I'm going to put my hands on my hips just so you can see. I'm just going to tip my hips up and back a few times. So lifting this hip on the straight leg side, dipping the hip on the bent knee side, and then lifting the hip on the bent knee side, dipping the hip on the straight leg side. Yeah, and then coming back to neutral. And now going to begin a movement, whole body, well, most body movement from our pelvic area again. And that would be lifting the hip on the straight leg side, tipping at your hips to bring torso, neck, and head over forearm to thigh. And then taking that upper arm, free arm up towards the ceiling. So that arm that's reaching up in the air, it goes up there a ways and it kind of gets stuck. Doesn't want to really go any farther. Moving in a novel way would be using the shoulder blade on that side to lift that arm a little bit higher up towards the ceiling. Another novel movement would be turning your gaze to look at the floor in front of that bent leg foot, but maybe out 3, 4, 5 feet away. First transition is to look back towards center and then taking that arm down. And now moving from your hips again. Front leg stays as it is, where it is, bent. As you take this back hip and tip it down, lift the front hip up to come up straight. Let's go to the other side. So you get the idea. Minimal instruction on this side. As you bend and straighten just a couple of times. And then hold that bent knee position. Let's practice tipping hips on this side. Hips tipping. And then lifting the back hip, dipping the front hip. Hips tipping, torso, neck, and head just come along for the ride. There you go. And then it's forearm to thigh. It's free arm up in the air. It's shoulder blade lifting, turning to look down. Just a breath or two here. And then looking back forward, bringing the upper arm down. Remember, we don't want to straighten that front leg right away because we can move from our center by dropping the straight leg hip, lifting the bent leg hip to come up and then straight. All right. So one more side angle pose before we move on. And that's that extended side angle. But it's helpful to get the arm position kind of embedded in that neuromuscular memory before we head that way. A little bit more ultimate access to the benefits. So let's just swing left arm forward and back. And his arm sweeps up, palm turns up. His arm sweeps down, goes behind you, palm faces away behind you. Next time that arm is up in the air, pausing there. Remember just a moment ago how we could lift the arm just a little bit from the shoulder blade. Well, this time, how about taking your armpit up towards your ear? Yeah, as if armpit was gonna whisper something in your ear. Not sure what that could be, what armpits would have to say. Maybe they're saying, hey, don't blame me, just doing my job. And then taking that arm out to the side, bit of an angle, and rotating your arm, your wrist, so that thumb points towards the floor, and then sweeping it back behind you. Yeah, so a little bit, one more swing on this side, a little bit faster. Just pendulum swinging, free swinging. And then the arm is up in the air, letting your armpit come up to whisper in your ear. Yeah, pretty novel. Taking that arm out to the side, rotating so that thumb point towards the floor and sweeping behind you. All right. So taking a wide stride, we'll head right for side angle pose with that arm movement embedded in new memory. So it's left toes turn in, right toes turn out, bending the front knee. And remember, you can tip your hips. Hips tipping brings torso and neck along. And then it's that same arm movement. Arm sweeping, sweeping, sweeping. And then armpit rotating towards your ear. So this is a good place to practice. If you'd like a little bit more challenge, that would be turning to take a peek at the ceiling. First transition to come out will be just looking back forward first if you turn. Sweeping that arm down. Yeah, remember this. Front leg stays bent. We just tip to come up. And we go right away to the other side. No, we're not. We're not going to go right away. We're gonna pattern this movement. A little bit of an unusual movement on the other arm now. Right arm. Right arm swinging a few times. The next time it's up in the air, we'll just take that right armpit up towards your ear. Take the arm out to the side. Rotate so thumb faces the floor. And reach, 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 reach. Oh, like you're reaching in the back seat. Gotta find that. Oh, there it is. Couple more swings. And then arm up, armpit rotating around. Arm out to the side. Thumb to the floor. Reaching behind you, maybe I can touch this wall back. Oh, there it is. I can't touch it. Okay. Taking a wide stride. Right toes turning, left toes turn out. Exhale, bending. Next exhale, hips tipping. Forearm to thigh. Arm sweep. Yeah. Rather than extending through your fingers, let your shoulder get into the picture by rotating your armpit towards your ear. And then it's turning your head to look a little bit towards the ceiling. Coming back center, bringing the arm down, tipping at your hips to come up, and straightening the front knee, stepping your feet together. All right. Just going to check to make sure we're going to have enough time to do everything that we want to do. I think we will. One thing I neglected to say earlier is that both a strap and a block will come in handy in this last part of the practice. But if you don't have a block handy, maybe even a piece of furniture pillow, something like that. I'm just going to put the block in front of me here at this time. And then standing with hands on hips, shifting your weight into your right leg, we're going to just paw the ground, your yoga mat with your other foot, left foot, kind of like a horse paws the ground. Maybe you've seen that. And putting your left hand on that pawing leg hamstring so that you can feel how the hamstring activates when leg paws back. Let's just go to the other side. Same thing on the other side. So if you haven't already guessed, we're preparing for a particular yoga pose here by activating some neuromuscular efficiency, getting familiar with activating hamstrings. All right, so coming behind that block with a wider stride and toes pointed more or less straight forward. You can put your hands on your hamstrings if you want to. I'm just going to turn sideways slightly here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to swipe my feet back isometrically, just enough to activate my hamstring muscles. And then with hamstrings working, I'm going to use those hamstrings, ask them to stay long as I come forward to about 45 degrees. Then I'm going to use hamstrings in a novel way, contracting to pull myself back up. So let's just go halfway down and up one more time. Halfway down, hamstrings lowering, muscles staying strong as they get longer. And now hamstrings pulling you back up. This time we'll go over, we'll stay more or less torso parallel to the ground. Torso parallel to the ground. And then bringing your left hand to the block, right hand to your hip. Now, perhaps you noticed already a bit of a twist beginning. Let's twist to the right. Take that right arm up towards the ceiling. Yeah, to the extent possible. Legs still working, feet still swiping back. Let's swing that upper arm all the way down to the block. And start the twist on the other side with hand on hip. Legs swiping back. And then extending the arm up towards the ceiling. Yeah. No need to overdo it. Let's just sweep back on down. Bringing hands to hips. Remember what we did earlier? Hamstring muscles now contracting, levering you up, 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 all the way up. All right. Stepping your feet together, setting the block aside. Done with the block for now, but keeping that yoga strap or perhaps a towel, a belt, anything will do. If you need to, you could go get one now, or you could pause the tape recording if you're looking at the recording. Just making sure I'm headed in the right direction here. Let's use a sun salutation to access the floor. Inhale, sweeping up. Exhale, folding. Minimal lift, tipping your hips. All the way upside down, tipping your hips. Moving from the center. Coming on down to hands and knees. And we'll just visit down dog. In passing while we're here. Curling toes under, bringing hips up and back. Yeah, just getting upside down. For a breath or two. And then coming to hands and knees. So I'm going to turn sideways. You can stay right where you are. Walking your knees back just a little bit so that hands are quite a bit forward of shoulders. And then we're going to, like we did earlier, extend your toes out behind you, tops of the feet pushing into the floor as you bring your hips forward, aligning knees, hips, shoulders, and ears. And now, staying here, lifting your breastbone to come forward so that you're looking forward just a bit, kind of a kneeling, upward facing dog. Plenty of challenge here, particularly if tops of the feet are still pushing into the floor. If you'd like a little bit more challenge, that would be bringing your knees up off the floor, coming up into more of a traditional upward facing dog. Let's not overdo it. Knees down if they're up, hips come back. And then coming forward and coming over, coming onto your back. With knees bent, hands on your knees, fingertips pointing towards your toes, and just drawing knees in and letting them go back out. But only as far as arms will let them go. So not a very big movement, just a bit of release for lower back. Bringing your feet to the floor, rolling to one side. Just gotta check to make sure we're gonna have enough time for things here. Let's come to hands and knees. And then bring your right foot up between your hands. Bring it actually forward of your hands a bit. Back foot, bend leg, top of that foot on the floor, pressing into the floor. And we'll do a kneeling lunge here with that back foot, top of the foot pressing into the floor. So on an exhale, coming out forward, inhale, coming back up. So yesterday I did what was for me a longer bike ride, about 20 miles. Yeah. And so today, hip flexor muscle, especially on this side that the leg is down, it's a little bit tight. This really feels good to just bump up against the stretch, touch the stretch, and then back out of it, let the stretch go. Next time you're in that forward position, pause it there. So this front leg, right leg, bringing your hand up behind your head on that same side, and then turning, twisting towards the front leg. Just a couple of breaths here. Exhale, coming up forward, coming down to hands and knees. Yeah, you guessed it, headed for downward facing dog. Just to check in, left side, right side. Toes curl under, hips come up and back. There they are. Wouldn't think it's possible same body, two entirely different dogs, long dog, short dog. All right, hands and knees. Other foot comes forward, left foot comes forward. And forward of your hands so that when we come into this lunging, knee lands over pretty much the center of your foot. And that back leg, top of the foot pressing down again. Remember what that does. It works hamstring muscles, activates them. Also activates abdominal muscles on that same side in a harmonious way so that we can explore this novel movement. So bent leg side, left leg side, and bringing that arm up behind your head and then just rotating, twisting in that direction. Couple breaths here. Going on forward, coming down the hands and knees. Last time, last downward facing dog. Toes curl under, hips come up and back. There you go. Just taking note of any difference from the last downward facing dog we did a moment ago. Come down to hands and knees. And coming seated. You know what? I don't think we're going to use the strap. Well, maybe we should. We haven't done this for quite a while, and it is useful and it's beneficial. So if a strap is handy, if you've been able to get one, this would be the time we're going to use it. If you haven't and you want to just quickly run and get one, not to worry, you won't really miss much. We'll just come onto our backs with knees bent and then extending the left leg out along the floor and bringing that right leg up overhead. We're just going to do some leg circles. So that would be drawing that upper leg, right leg across your body, circling it down, bringing it back up. So leg circles. Going in a counterclockwise direction. Let's change directions and go the other way. Yeah, so if you went out to retrieve a belt, maybe you can catch up with us right here. Just a couple of leg circles. And then we'll go to the other side. So it's right leg out along the floor, left leg up. So we've done these movements a few times, similar movements. Hip joint movements, but in a different context. Going in both directions, just a couple of circles. All right. And then bringing that foot up down to the floor and taking your belt or your yoga strap and putting it around the forefoot, just below the toes, forefoot of that left leg, left foot. And taking that foot up towards the ceiling. So standard way is, well, we got something here, we got a grip on it, we're just gonna go ahead and haul back on it. But novel way would be to use the strap to provide some resistance, pushing your toes, your forefoot into the strap, like you were pushing on the accelerator of your car. And what that does is it activates hamstring muscles, gastrocnemius calf muscles, so that they stay strong as you draw that leg back, back, back. So muscles staying strong as they get longer, eccentric, I should say, muscle activity has been proven in the long run to be the most efficient for building muscle mass. and muscular neuroefficiency. Let's take both ends of the strap in the left hand and take that leg out to the side, but only to the place where hips begin to tip. Hips begin to tipping, then inhale, bringing the leg back in. Let's just go out and in one more time. Finding that tipping point in your hips, because that particular point, there it is right there, that particular point is the most efficient place to work building strength. All right, let's go to the other side. So strap around the forefoot, because we want to use that pushing into the strap idea action to activate hamstring muscles in a novel way. So one end of the strap in each hand, and now pushing into the strap before you draw the leg back, just a bit. And then taking both ends of the strap in your right hand, left hand extending out for balance. Just going out and in a few times. Finding that tipping point. Tipping point's a little farther out on this side for me. Would indicate that there's some pattern of muscle strength and recruitment. It's a little bit different on this side. The established pattern is a little different. We're just going to augment, complement that. Next time that leg is out at the tipping point, pausing there for a moment, and then bringing it back in. You're bringing the leg on down. All right. Finding your way up to seated. Both legs straight out. Let's take the left leg and cross it over. And crossing over is traditional, but it's not for everybody. If that crossing over creates a pinch where thigh meets torso in that groin area, then it's not cheating to leave that foot on the side it was born on. Otherwise, you can cross over. And opposite arm, right arm wraps around the knee. Let's just open to a gentle seated twist. Similar to that lunge twist we did just a moment ago. No particular intention or instructions are really needed here. Just know that you're getting the benefit of what physical therapists call a novel movement, different way to activate muscles in both joints. Let's come back on forward. We'll go to the other side. So it's right leg over, left arm wrapping, bringing that other arm behind. Just a few breaths here. Well, maybe there's a bit of a tug in the hip on that bent leg side. If that's the case, exploring in your own body, what happens when you have a full deep inhale? Does that tug intensify? When you exhale, does it release? Everyone's experience a little different, so not to say that that's what you should feel. Just exploring the possibility. Full deep inhale. Complete exhale. And let's come on out. Yeah. Just a few minutes left. So maybe reclining, coming onto your back with knees bent, soles of the feet on the floor. Or if you prefer, We can finish by sitting as well. And if sitting is not all that comfortable, not all that accessible, just know that sitting up on a block is not cheating. It's a way to help you access more of the potential benefit of sitting on the floor. Yeah. So if you're on your back, or if you're seated, letting your eyes close. So all throughout this practice, didn't say much about breathing. A few mild references, a few suggestions. Here's something that's novel in its own way, that can have potential benefits, and that's mouth breathing. Yeah, I know there's a dictum in Yoga Boy, gotta breathe through your nose, so much benefit to nose breathing. That's absolutely true, there is. Let's explore right here what it would be like to eyes closed, mouth breathing. What if any shifts occur in your experience in your own body? Mouth breathing. I know everybody, they're conscious of how they look. Want to look appropriate, want to look intelligent. Can't really do that with my mouth open, but just know that you're in the privacy of your own place. Everybody's got their eyes closed. Couple more mouth breaths. Perhaps that mouth breathing has invited a different pattern in the breathing itself, in your body experience. In the literature of the yoga tradition, there's an analogy to a candle flame. Candle flame is light and heat. It is luminous in and of itself. But it also has the power to illuminate its surroundings. See what's true in your own body, mouth breathing. Perhaps like that candle flame. All right. Your eyes are closed, opening your eyes. If you're on your back, first transition would be bending your knees and then coming seated. We're a few minutes after. Apologize for the extended practice. When we're seated, let's just bring hands to heart. Maybe take a collective inhale. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me. Just to remind you again, I will be providing a live session next Monday, July 5th, and the recording will be available too.